levels are rising, ice caps are melting, and the world as we know it is getting warmer. Earth is changing all around us every day. Does that mean that humans are to blame? Positions are deeply polarized if climate change is caused by humans or not. According to Professor Dan Kahan from the Yale Law School, deep public divisions over climate change are unrelated to differences in how well ordinary citizens understand scientific evidence on global warming. With that information, today I'll be talking about three main points of climate change. And they are if climate change is a natural process, the human activities affect it, and how the overall effects are affected to Earth. I'll be starting with the natural process of climate change. The first believed cause of climate change is just fossil fuels and pollutions. But some believe that climate change is more than just a natural process. The United States Environmental Protection Agency states that Earth naturally goes through a phase of heating and then cooling. Energy from the heat and sun cause the Earth to be more warmer, and volcanoes, when they erupt, they also release heat and they get trapped into the Earth. And there's been evidence that the sun has been more productive and releasing more heat and energy than previous records in the past. Opposing sides believe that climate change is more than just a natural process. Polly Shaftel from the NASA states that the release of greenhouse gases has made a blanket around the Earth, and it's trapping the energy and the heat in, and the carbon dioxide and all these pollutions and fossil fuels can't escape, and they're just floating around Earth. And even though the world has natural phases that occur, humans are also involved in the development of climate change. And humans do play a role in the development of it, and such as the population is expanding, and with the expansion of the populations, they create new businesses, and they'll clear out an area and take away the plants from it. Scientists say that based on the amount of population and people we have, that the Earth would actually be warmer than what it currently is. But humans aren't the only factor that also develop in climate change. Animals are too, such as cows who release methane, which also gets trapped. Others believe that humans rely on motorized vehicles. So when they go somewhere from A to B, they'll take a car or a motorized vehicle that releases pollution and fossil fuels that once again gets trapped under the blanket and cannot escape. And then when they clear out an area, as I stated before, they'll take away these plants and trees who absorb the carbon dioxide, but they're not replacing them back. So if there's nothing to absorb it, it's just floating around, causing harm to humans and animals. And climate change has caused the world to adapt to new issues. And they're finding more enhanced growth in the Amazons, where it's more plants and you can't really get in there and put a place in there. And they're also finding new species in areas that have more natural effects. Not all effects from climate change have been good. According to procon.org, water levels are rising, causing oceans and seas to become more acidic. And they become more acidic because with the carbon dioxide and all these pollutions in the air, they're just getting absorbed into the water, causing them to be more acidic and harmful to the water animals. And since the plants are taking more of the water that they're absorbing and trying to draw down the carbon dioxide, it's causing a suffocation problem because they're not getting an equal amount of each. And with the three main points that I talked about, climate change is more than just a natural process, how human activity affects it, and the overall effects to it. Positions still come to opposite sides if climate change is formed by human activity or plant activity. And the natural process of the world goes through a hot and then cold, and the human activities will have its good and bad effects no matter what. And though there are several positives and negatives when it comes to climate change, it's still debatable. People will have their own beliefs and theories, but the still evidence is still waiting to be found. Thank you. Questions? Tristan.
So when it comes to like human impact, do you know if it's gotten a lot worse, or do you think it's always kind of been just like the same amount? Because I know industrialization has been really big within the last century, so do you think that's been a factor in it?
From the research I found, a lot of scientists believe that everyday humans are impacting it more and more because we're starting to rely on more things than just the natural process. Like we're relying more on motorized vehicles and buildings and stuff, which also release pollution. So I do think that human activity is making more of an impact each day. Jordan?
Which kind of like human-made thing is bringing the most pollution? Like cars or like industry? What?
That's a good question. I didn't really see a specific answer to that. So, I mean, I guess it just depends on exactly how much they're releasing. Like, if you have a building releasing some, like these gases from coal or something, I guess it depends on how long it's running and how much is actually escaping compared to a car who, if you're just going a little bit distance, it probably wouldn't release as much. So I didn't actually find a definite answer to that. Tyler?
Was there research that was talking about more about like actual climate like change, like say like irregular storm patterns rather than global heating?
There was like a couple that were talking about like the patterns of it. Like as I stated, the Earth goes through a warming and then cooling so often, but it's starting to become longer stretches of the actual phases. But I didn't exactly find if more storm patterns and all these patterns of it are affecting it more. If that answers.
Okay, good job.